Speaking of math, how important do you think math is in poker? One thing I want to mention that a lot of people probably don't know about you is that you went to the equivalent of something like MIT in Russia, and you were like a mathlete. You won some tournaments, I believe,
Yeah,
in Russia. You're like a math of
yeah.
sorts.
Like I did well in like Russian Math Olympics and like some Asia Pacific Math Olympics, and I went to like Russian MIT, which is called MCU, and did like a major in theory of probabilities while I was playing. Yeah, like, but I don't think that actually helps that much in poker, to be honest. Like, you study very, very complex maths, and like it's like really mind the level of complexity is there, and like you need like eighth grade of school for poker kind of thing. You just need to be able to calculate. Okay, there are 16 combos of AK, sort of thing. It's definitely on a different levels than the stuff you would study in the uni.
Yeah, I took I was actually very good at math myself, but not like you. I won some math competitions, but like they were in my school and things like that. It motivated the competitiveness motivated me, whereas I don't really think it motivates most people in math, which is pretty important. I have various theories on the psychology behind to actually become successful in poker, which I want to ask your opinion about in a second. And one thing I remember is that I totally don't remember anything I took in my advanced math classes in college. They proved to be completely useless, basically, and it got so esoteric that I just didn't know what the point was. It was like about like imaginary complex
Yeah.
imaginary numbers that I don't even remember. I don't remember literally one thing from that class. Um, But I think that I'm not sure how much math ability appears to correlate with poker versus something else. I think I know what that something else is, but I want to know your opinion, and I want to know why you. I remember you told me that you knew really smart people that often failed in poker. Do you think that was the norm, or
I mean, I think poker
do
requires
yeah?
like some other things that just mass ability. Like I want to speak a little bit first to the stuff that you mentioned that people are not that motivated in mass. I think that's very reasonable because I think the sort of talent distribution in mass is much further away than the physical distribution in people. Like the weakest man is probably like 7 times weaker than the strongest man, or like 10 times weaker than the strongest man. And like
Oh, really?
the dumbest guy is probably 1,000 times dumber in mass than like the smartest guy, or like maybe
Oh,
more,
well.
depends how you count it. Like the sort of the difference is like much higher, and it's like a lot of it is genetic, I think. So like it makes sense not to be motivated if like you are sort of dealt a card, and like it's there is some things you can do with it, but like no matter how much I run, I'm not gonna outrun Usain Bolt if I train for like 14 hours a day. And the difference in mass talent is much higher than the difference between me and like Usain Bolt. So it's
What?
yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I've seen people who are really talented, and my like I'm quite talented myself, but I've seen people like better than me, and like, it's not comparable. Like, it's impossible.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay, that's interesting. I wonder if that's the same in other kinds of fields too that are little bit less um, able to be analyzed. But let's talk a bit more about
yeah,
poker.
sure.
I'm curious first, how much does this kind of analytical intelligence carry over to poker? Because why aren't all these like math geniuses being like, wait, look at all these idiots in poker. Let's just go play that. Let's do all the math and then execute it and take all their money. Like, why isn't this
I
happening?
mean, nowadays, why would you need math? Kind of, you have solvers, and sort of the math people did the math, and you can just look at the results. Sort of memory makes more sense than being able to do I mean, sort of mass people, like their advantage, you can understand the sort of algorithms that like that solver runs kind of deep and like pretty faster than other people. But like in terms of implementing it, you need good memory and good emotional control, and for to exploit other people, you need like a lot of focus. And I think like focus. I think focus is like somewhat correlated with mass ability probably, but yeah, it's very different thing. I think like focus is much more like correlated with some like non-neurotypicity, or like how do you call it? Like if you're not exactly normal.
Neurodiversity.
Yeah.
Focus is related with neurodiversity.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I did. I did surprise myself a little bit. I did some tests on like ASD, and I scored like at the middle of ASD range. I sort of and I think like that's true for a lot of poker players, like maybe more than they realize. And I think that's very correlated. I think it's very correlated, and I know that you are, and I think like many other players who play high stakes are too. You know, especially the very best of the players. I think that's very related to amount of focus you need to generate to play high, like for a long time.